Hello everyone. Let's start again the journey of our marketing course, the art and science of marketing from basic to breakthrough. We are reaching near to the halfway of our complete course. So, we are going to start the fifth module, the week 5, which talks about understanding the buyer behavior and delivering the customer value. And the lecture 1 relate with this module is understanding the buyer behavior. I, Dr. Asutosh Mohan, Associate Professor at Institute of Management Studies, Banaras Hindu University, would like to welcome you all the journey of learning, related with marketing. In this module, we try to understand the individual consumers' buying habits and related with the possibilities of building the satisfaction, loyalty and relationship. So, to begin with, let's have the learning objective of our module 1. What actually it is? The first learning objective is to define consumer buying behavior and its relevance. That's very crucial element, that's very significant component until unless as a marketer we understand what exactly the consumer buying behavior or what are the different factors influencing that talks about in the second objective, the psychological, personal, social and cultural factor which influence the individual purchasing decision. And finally, we try to understand the stages of consumer decision making and adoption process. So, with these 3 learning objectives, we try to complete the understanding as a marketer related with consumer buying behavior. As the tradition talks about in our course, we used to start the details with a small story. This story is related with the headphone hunt. Ayansh, one of a consumer, want to buy a headphone, but as usual he is confused or he was confused. So, what he did? He did reviews, that is what information search. He compares the different brands, that is what evaluation. He asks the friends in terms of different social factor or social acceptability and finally purchase based on the battery life. So, what is the learning? Buyer behavior is not random. What we usually perceive, we simply go and purchase the item. No, it requires lot of research. It requires a systematic process to follow. It requires a identified and guided efforts of buyer to find out which one is the best one. So, it follows a process. That is what we need to understand, what actually this process is and how exactly these processes are affecting our purchase. Some of the modern trends in buying behavior which we are observing, what actually we are observing? We are observing the influence of digital media in our buying behavior. For example, whenever we talk about window shopping possibilities, prior to this digital marketing efforts, the window shoppings were possible where the consumer or customer used to go to the marketplace and evaluate the different option without purchasing anything. But nowadays this window shopping is more or less in terms of digital window shopping, where we are evaluating, we are visiting the different websites, we are just checking the different kind of offers and making the compares more scientific, more dynamic, and accordingly we are trying to get the best possible option. All these are not only influencing our decision, but it is also influencing the possibility of having influencers on social media. That's what a big chunk nowadays, deciding what to purchase, what not to purchase, where to go, what to eat, what not to eat. So every bits and pieces of our life purchase decisions are somehow getting influenced by different influencers who are having a big known presence on the social media platforms. That's happening and that's a reality. Similarly, what we are observing, the Gen Z behavior is shifting. The Gen Z behavior is moving to different direction, or it's radically changing, where they are more dynamic, there they are more intelligent, maybe less brand loyal but more brand conscious. So all those changes are creating lots of changes in understanding, or it requires lot of changes to understand by marketers to develop, to strategize their marketing strategies. Now there is one buyer behavior model which is basically proposed by Kotler, and this buyer behavior model is having three components. Just have a look. The first component is marketing stimuli or other stimuli. The second component talks about the buyer characteristics and buyer decision process, and the third component talks about the buyer's decision. Now what exactly these different components are talking about? Marketing stimuli. Marketing stimuli is nothing but the product mix, or rather to say the marketing mix element for any marketer. So 4 P's: product, price, place, promotion. That's what marketing stimuli are. So whatever the strategies marketers are floating and accordingly try to lure the prospects and convert them into customer, that become a kind of stimuli, that become a kind of trigger point. And based on this stimuli or the other stimuli, which are basically the macro environmental factor related with our economic condition, the technological conditions, the socio-cultural factors, the political factors, even the demographic factors are creating the another kind of trigger. For example, when the culture of double income is increasing in household, don't you think that requires a different kind of product and service requirements rather than in traditional family where a one single earner used to be? Why this is happening? Because possibly the disposable income is more, maybe the resources you have to invest into different elements is higher, and you have the scarcity of time and efforts. So choice set is changing, and we have to have understand this. Now what are the buyer's characteristic? Buyer's characteristic is again related with the values, beliefs, the culture, the society in which you are living. That influence a lot. Your psychological makeup, your personal factors, your personal characteristic, whether it's learning, attitude, motivation, all those factors are influencing your purchase decision. Now how actually you are making your purchase decision, that's again a very crucial factor. For example, buyer decision process passes through different stages. The first one is the problem recognition, second one is the information search, third one is the evaluation of alternative, fourth one is the purchase decision, and the fifth one is post purchase decision. So what are these and how we need to understand all those particular factors? This is a very crucial element which we need to understand. Outcome of this lead towards the buyer decisions. What are buyer decisions? Buyer will decide, or the consumer will decide, which product they are going to purchase, what brand is going to be the choice in that product category, from where they are going to purchase, that is reflected in dealer's choice, what will be the timing of purchase, that is reflected in the purchase timing, and what will be the quantity of purchase, that will reflect in terms of purchase amount. So let's deal with the buyer decision process in little bit of more detail to understand the nitty-gritty of this entire happening. Let's take the individual elements one by one. The first one is problem recognition and information search. Now what is this? and how this is affecting our decision. Let's take the example. Every one of us is nowadays using the smartphone. Good enough? That's a debatable question whether the smartphones are smarter than the individual or individual is still smart than the smartphone. But a smartphone is by and large becoming a kind of necessity because we keep on performing the different functions in even our day-to-day life functions through a smartphone. So how individual is recognizing the problem? Whenever our existing smartphone start functioning in a bad way, whenever there is a requirement, somehow we lost our mobile phone, somehow it's not working, or somehow there is a trigger point even to give to someone, there is a trigger point where the individual will realize when to purchase a mobile phone. That is a trigger point, that is the starting point where individual will recognize this is the right time, not to say right time, this is a need where I have to have purchased a smartphone. That is problem recognized. Now based on this problem recognition, don't you think the individual informally or formally starts searching the different kind of information? Just try to recall your own experience. Whenever we realize the requirement of any particular product, whenever we realize the requirement of any particular product, what we realize? We keep on finding lot of information is somehow bombarded to us. Even if we are searching, suppose on online sources, after the trigger point of recognizing the need, we start searching the information related with smartphone on online sources. Once you search on online platform, immediately after that, on another visit to online platform, you will find lots of targeted information, the targeted commercials are present on your different social media platform or different handlers or on different web pages. You are finding lots of information related with a smartphone. This is one way. Similarly, you will find whenever you realize the need of a smartphone, immediately you start paying attention to all others who are near to you, who are using the smartphone. You start simply evaluating which brand of a smartphone my friend is using, which brand of phone my colleagues are using, and you start paying attention more to the different brands of the phone available near to you. Even if you are visiting to the road, even if you are traveling to the road, you will find lots of mobile shops are appearing as per your requirement. Lots of billboards and the advertisement you will find on the road related with the smartphone, which you never realized before this trigger point. That's a psychological thing. It's not bombarded immediately after your recognition of purchase related with the smartphone, but your mind start paying attention more on those particular information sources. This is what gathering the information, this is what finding the information after the problem recognition, and this is related with the first step of our buying process. What is going to be the next step? The next step is evaluation of alternative. Now what is evaluation of alternative? We may have lots of possible information related with different kind of brands, different kind of products available under the smartphone category. Now we start evaluating which one is best. We have to have reached on a certain decision which one is best. So this evaluation goes in a very systematic and methodical manner if we are really concerned, or if we are really concerned to purchase a good mobile smartphone. If our purchase is going to by impulse, then there might not be these steps, but if we are planning a good purchase, then it need to be there where we have to have evaluate the different alternatives. How we can evaluate these alternatives? For example, I just want to highlight For example, there might be, suppose there are total number of brands, that is called total set. In terms of all mobile handset manufacturer will constitute the total set. From total set, we may have one more set, that is called knowledge set. Suppose 50 plus brands are available at the marketplace, but we do not know all 50 brands. We are knowing only 15 to 20 brands. That is what knowledge set or awareness set is. That may also called as awareness set. So, we are aware about this particular 15 to 20 brand. Out of this awareness set, we move to consideration set. What is consideration set? Consideration set means out of 15 brands, suppose we are aware about from total 50 possible brands available at the marketplace, we make certain criteria, we make certain judgment. Suppose my judgment is I want to purchase a mobile phone, but I am very careful and I am very hard on my opinion that I will not purchase any mobile phone made from any specific country, or I will not purchase any brand with these kind of specification. So, out of all 15 awareness set, suppose we have 50 approximate brands. Here it comes out to be approximate 15 brands. Now, our consideration set may have around 10 to 8 brands. Good. Now, from consideration set we may move to choice set. Now, what is choice set? We are not devoting the entire energy on this. We are also not devoting entire energy to evaluate the alternative on this. Actually, we are devoting energy, start devoting energy from here, where we have certain criteria to filter out from our knowledge or awareness set, and then we try to evaluate all those 10 or 8 brands on different parameters in terms of the features, in terms of the disk, in terms of memory, in terms of the resolution, in terms of all add-on feature, and suppose we have 3 to 5 final brand under the choice set, and from choice set we finally make one particular brand purchase, and this is called final set or final product. This is possible. Here again it may be 1 to 2 brand, because it may possible you are having one brand as your first preference, but you are also good with the second brand. So, this final set may have 1 to 2 brand, and that is called choice set. Choice, from choice set to you reach to the final set. This is what purchase decision in terms of evaluation of different alternative. Now, purchase decision, the third stage. What exactly this purchase decision talks about? This purchase decision talks about where we are making the different kind of purchase decisions in terms of, suppose I decide I want to purchase brand X as a smartphone. I start from my home to a retail outlet. Meanwhile, reaching to the retail outlet or in between the retail outlet and my home, I meet someone, or I may change, I may have certain situational consideration, and based on those consideration I may try to evaluate again. Or it may also possible, if I am interacting with the salesperson on the retail outlet, I have a choice at brand X, and the person somehow convinced me, don't go with the brand X, it is having these kind of problem, go with brand Y. That is again a situational factor. So, my entire energy up to the second stage may have certain dilution, and I may go with the retailer's advice if I trust the retailer too much. That is possible. Similarly, we keep on evaluating the different kind of perceived risk. What are these perceived risks? For example, when I talk about perceived risk, there are different elements involved under the perceived risk. One may be definitely it is a physical, that my smartphone should not provide any kind of physical harm. It should not blast, it should not be very heated during the charging or something like this. Second may be functional. So, if I purchase a smartphone for different activities which I want to perform, it must perform as per the requirement. That is what functional risk, whether it will perform or not. Then we may have the financial risk. Financial risk means whether I receive the best deal or not, whether I receive the best possible price or not, whether there should be any further reductions in price or further debates in price possible. This is what financial risk. Then we may have the technological risk. What actually the technological risk? Suppose I am purchasing a product in the month of May and without knowing the fact that in month of June, July or maybe in August a new version of mobile phone is supposed to come, and we may feel little cheated later on, we may feel little annoyed, we may feel little dissatisfied that I didn't bother about the technological changes or the technological factor, and accordingly now I have within 3 months my mobile phone is somehow going to be outdated. That is what technological risk. Then we may have another factor of risk, that is called social risk. Now, what is social risk? Social risk is, if I am purchasing a mobile phone, then it must be noticed by my peers, it must be noticed by my friends, and they must compliment me by saying how good your purchase is, how nice your phone looks like, let us have a trial, let us have a look on this. They must praise my choice. That is what social acceptability kind of risk. And finally, there might be one more risk, that is called psychological risk. Now, what is this? This is very crucial. Psychological risk. Several times whenever we make any purchases, then we feel a kind of stress, a kind of anxiety, a kind of mental stage where keep on thinking whether my purchase is good or it's bad, whether the option which I left at the shop was better than this. So, several kind of secondary thoughts pop up in our mind, and that create a kind of confusion where we keep on thinking, we keep on evaluating with different dimensions whether my purchase is a good purchase or it's a bad purchase. This is what purchase decisions we are talking about. Now, what about the post-purchase decision? Buyer behavior doesn't end on the purchase dimension only. It's related with the brand decision. That's what we talked in terms of different set examples. It relates with the vendor decision, quantity, timing, payment. So, every specific aspect of your purchase is related with the purchase decision. But buyer behavior doesn't end on the purchase, it moves further, and that is what post-purchase behavior is. Now, what is post-purchase behavior? Post-purchase behavior talks about the satisfaction. Post-purchase behavior talks about the possibilities of deriving value, how we are going to evaluate whether we are satisfied or dissatisfied. Now, suppose if you are satisfied, you keep on using the product. But even in that case, the post-purchase behavior will continue up to that point where you stop using the product. It means either you sell out the product in exchange of something, or you sell the product as a scrap, you or even abandon the product after certain time of uses. So, post-purchase behavior will continue up to that point. This is related with satisfaction. But suppose if you are dissatisfied, then what will you do? That is a very crucial factor for marketers to understand. So, if we are satisfied, good enough. We keep on using the product till it is functioning. We keep on getting the repairs, the service if it is not functioning well, or it is scheduled for different kind of proactive maintenance activity. Whenever we feel this product need to be replaced, we go for exchange or we go for certain kind of scrap items, and accordingly we go for a new product. But if you are dissatisfied, then what will you do? or what we used to do, there may be two possibilities. Either we complain or we don't complain. If we don't complain, it's good for marketer somehow, even though it's not good for marketer in totality, because you are dissatisfied and you are not complaining. It means the marketer, the organization is losing the customer altogether without knowing the reason. But suppose you decide you are going to complain. Good, this is one option. Now if you decide to complain, then there might be two options in your hand. Either you make a complaint to the organization directly, that is private complaint, or you will go for public complaint. If you are going for private complaint, writing the grievances on different touch points made available by the organization, maybe you are dropping a mail, maybe you are contacting the customer care center, maybe you are going to that same distribution channel member and asking for certain kind of repair, replacement, or whatever the possibilities of getting your complaint resolved. Good enough, organization can work and understand your problem, and accordingly organization is supposed to resolve your problem as quickly as possible. This is one of the best option available in the hands of organization to know the product performance and to know the customer sentiments related with the product. But suppose if customer decide, no, I am not going to make it private complaint, I will go for public complaint. Then there might be two options for customer to go for. What will be two options? Either the customer will opt for some social media platform on public domain, or the customer will opt for certain negative word of mouth publicity, that is again in public. Now if customer is doing certain negative word of mouth publicity, its impact might be relatively less in comparison to complain on the social media platform. That's an obvious factor. Now if a customer is making a social media platform as a platform to make complaint for his or her dissatisfaction, then it's a good opportunity, not to say opportunity, but it's a big threat or a good opportunity for learning to the organization, but it's a big threat to the organization to create certain kind of defame or dilution of the organization image. So organizations has to scatter those particular social media complaints as early as possible and try to resolve it amicably, so that it should not spread, or it must reflect in certain dimensions where the customer may feel happy with the service recovery. That's possible, and that's what post purchase behavior is. So in post purchase behavior, if we repeat it again, post purchase, either you have two options, either you feel satisfied or dissatisfied. Satisfied, good, you keep on using the product, and then you either stop using the product by discarding it as a scrap or going for exchange with a new one. If you are dissatisfied, then you have two options, either you make a complaint or you don't make complaint. If you are not making complaint, it's bad for organization because they are not getting any data, any feedback. But if you decide you are going to complain, then you have two options in your hand as a consumer, as a customer. Either you make a public complaint or you make a private complaint. If it is a private complaint, the entire scenario can be managed by the organization beautifully. But if it is on public domain, then consumer or customer may have again two options. They go for the social media, they go for the negative word of mouth. Negative word of mouth is having big impact, but relatively the size is less. But social media nowadays is a big powerful mode where organization have to take into consideration, organization has take into cognizance. This is what post purchase behavior, and this is what you need to understand. Now in case of consumer buying roles, a consumer or a customer keep on performing the different kind of buying roles. In a family, you may find there are different kind of individual, maybe one individual is serving the different role, or different individual in a family is serving the different role. For example, in a traditional family or even in a simple nuclear family, you will find someone is as initiator of purchase, who is actually triggering that particular purchase. Maybe the lady in the house, maybe children in the house, maybe even the head of the house, or maybe the male member of the house. Whosoever has the requirement, they are the initiator. Nowadays, children are serving the biggest thing in terms of influencer. So, buying role, as we are discussing, the initiator might be the person who is realizing the need, and accordingly they are triggering that we have to have purchased this product in a family. This is basically the family buying roles. Then influencer is usually nowadays in any particular home, the children are influencing that we have to have purchased this product because they are having maximum exposure. Gatekeeper is that person who is actually holding the access of information, maybe the mother of the house who is holding the information, controlling the screen time of children in the home, so that the possibility of getting information exposures are handled by the mother of the house. Decider may be mother or father of the house, or maybe the head of the family, maybe your parents or grandparents are going to be decider in terms of what to buy. That's a fact. Then buyer may be anyone who goes to the market either in physical format or in online format and place the order, and user is that person who actually using the product. Maybe user is a kind of initiator also. So remember, all these roles are not necessarily mutually exclusive. One single member may serve the different roles at different point of time as per the requirement, and that is what the family reaches on the decision to purchase any product. Now there are different types of buying. What are the different types of buying? It depends on two factors. The two factors are basically deciding very specifically or categorizing the different possible buying by the individual. The first factor is the level of involvement. Level of involvement of the customers in their purchase behavior, in their purchase decision. And the second factor is the differences the brands are having. Now based on this two factor, difference and involvement, we may have high involvement, we may have low involvement. Similarly, we may have significant difference, we may have few differences. Now this two factors with two possibility will give rise to the four possible buying decisions. Now if it is high involvement and significant difference between brand, don't you think we may have a situation of complex buying behavior? That's what, just think, just imagine any of the big purchases of your family. Just think about whenever the family decide to purchase an automobile, we have lots of brand available in the market, and everyone is involved. If it is four-wheeler or even in two-wheeler, everyone is somehow involved to find out the details, to find out the facilities, and that become a very complex decision for any family to go for. Lots of brand, lots of involvement or many people involvement with different interests, and accordingly you will find it become a complex decision. Even in two-wheeler, you may find in families people used to argue, in Indian family people used to argue whether to go for bike with a fuel efficiency or go for some scooter or a scooty type of vehicle which is less in comparison to bike, less in comparison to provide a style in comparison to bike, but it is having more utility in terms of storage space and all those requirements. So these kind of involvement are creating a situation where lots of brands are available at the marketplace and making this buying a complex buying decision. Now, if involvement is low, but there are significant difference between brand, that is what variety seeking buying behavior. That is what we are witnessing in FMCG goods purchase. Just recall your experience whenever you are going to purchase the soap, the shampoo, the biscuits or different kind of daily use items. We keep on evaluating the different options without indulging too much what to opt, what not to opt. Lots of brands are available and accordingly we try to seek if we see anything new, looks good in terms of its appearance, in terms of its price, in terms of its attributes and benefit, we simply try to purchase the same. That is what variety seeking behavior is. Then there is a possibility when there are few differences, but there is a very high involvement, that is dissonance reducing buying behavior. What does it mean? It means few differences between the brand, but very high involvement to purchase which brand to go for. Just think about the mobile operators which we are opting for. Just think about the broadband connections we are having. Just think about the DTH operators we are having in our locality. We are highly involved with all these facilities, all these utility services, even though the number of brands are less and the difference among different brands are also not very large, but still we keep on evaluating whether the brand X provide the best broadband speed with good customer support, or brand Y is providing the best speed and support, or brand Z is providing the same. So, we are highly involved even though the differences are less. In this case, we are actually try to reduce the dissonance. We try to reduce the post-purchase dissatisfaction possibility. This is what dissonance reducing buying behavior we are calling for. And the last one, low involvement and very few differences among the brand. So, if it is low involvement and very few differences among the brand, don't you think that will constitute a kind of habitual buying behavior? We develop a kind of habit. We develop a kind of habit to purchase the same thing. For example, we may have a certain kind of choice to purchase certain daily use item. Maybe our milk, maybe our bread, maybe our daily consumable items. Few brand with relatively less difference, and we are not very much involved on those particular factor. Maybe for milk many individuals are having the high involvement, but certain other individual who are using the milk for only consumption in certain other forms, say for the tea or something like this, whether they are purchasing brand X or Y, that does not matter, and they develop a kind of habit to purchase the same brand again and again. That is possible, and that is actually showing a kind of behavior that is called habitual buying behavior. Now, let us try to understand with one example the buying behavior. Who are the influencers? Suppose I am talking about the Zomato Gold subscription. So, Zomato Gold subscription may have the different influencer. For example, my friend is saying it's very good, go for it, because we keep on ordering on frequent basis. So, if you have gold subscription, you will have bundles of advantage. So, review of friend, that is a social factor. The discounts or the benefits which are bundled with this particular gold offer, that is basically economical factor. The familiarity with the brand, because we are familiar with the Zomato as a reliable partner of food delivery, and if certain things are bundled by Zomato, we have a kind of security, we have a kind of secure feeling. That is what psychological factors we are talking about. And based on this, if your experience is good, if you feel satisfied with the Zomato Gold subscription, don't you think you will have a kind of loyalty for Zomato? You keep on visiting Zomato to place your orders again and again. This is what the outcome, this is what the post-purchase behavior is. This slide is slightly heavy in terms of test, but this slide talks about the differential factors which we may need to understand in terms of understanding the difference between business to business buying and business to consumer buying. There are certain parameters. Based on those parameters, the business buying and the consumer buying can be differentiated. For example, buying decision maker in business, maybe multiple individuals are involved, maybe a team of experts are involved to decide the final purchase, but here in B2C it's individual or maybe family members. Buying process, it's very complex, where it's a very simple and informal. Buying process in organization is a very complex with different layers of approvals. It's very formal and it takes lot of time and energy, whereas the purchase volume in business is supposed to be high. In case of consumer, it's low. Relationship in business is long term, because if you are selecting a partner in business to business buying, it's not simple routine kind of purchase all the time. It's a selecting partner, maybe strategic partner, maybe a critical partner. So your orientation is to build a long term relation. Even though in consumer we are saying transaction focus orientation, but by and large it's also changing towards the relationship building orientation. Decision factors, very logical, very efficient, where in case of B2C we several times take the decision based on emotions. We will discuss this factor in our next module, not to say next module, in our next lecture, where we will discuss the emotional component involvement in our buying process. Then we have the customization. Customization is possible in case of business buying, but usually we have a standard product in consumer, maybe customized also, maybe personalized also. Cycle length, it's long, it's short, price sensitivity, lots of negotiation in business buying, but here we are satisfied with MRP or minor discount. Marketing, it's a personal selling, but here it's a mass, maybe segment also. Examples, we are purchasing software, the raw material, whatever the furnitures. Even though we can purchase furnitures, softwares, groceries in our business to consumer, but the scale and the type of purchase will differ dramatically from one another. Now, what are the different stages of adoption by the consumer? This is very interesting fact. We don't adopt a product instantly. We move from different stages of adopting the product. For example, we come across for different possible offers available at the marketplace. That is what awareness stage is. Based on our awareness, we develop a kind of interest related with the product. We try to develop a kind of interest, whether this product is good, whether this product can serve any purpose, and accordingly we try to find out the possibilities. Based on certain developed interests, we move further for evaluation of product in totality before purchasing the same. We evaluate in terms of attribute, we evaluate in terms of benefit. We don't stop to evaluate only in terms of attribute and benefit by just seeing it, making a comparison. We also nowadays go for the certain reviews available with the uses of the product or service. That's also a very helping hand. Then we go for trial, may not be purchasing a big quantity at first go. We may have a small trial packs and just try to find our own experience. If experience is good and we feel satisfied or more than satisfied, maybe delighted, then the chances of adoption will be very high. And this is what we start with: the awareness, we go to the interest, we evaluate the different option, we try for the product, that is what trials are, and then we finally adopt based on the trials outcome. This is a simple consumer adoption process. Now, the consumer adoption process also categorize the consumers into different categories, and by and large we are having 5 different kind of consumers. Now, it's up to you to decide in which category you belong, because these categories are very much trusted and reliable categories and identified across the different industry. So, what exactly these categories are? The first category is the risk taker or innovators. Risk takers or innovators are those individuals who are ready to go for trial of a new product without thinking too much about it. So, this is a very small chunk, maybe 2 to 3% only. Then we are having the second category, that is called early adopters. What are early adopters, or better to say, who are early adopters? Early adopter is relatively little conservative than the innovator, but they are also risk takers. So, they are ready to go for trial of a new product and accordingly decide the market sentiments. So, innovators are actually inducing the need of product at the marketplace. Early adopters are creating a need or creating a kind of requirement or establishing the requirement of the product at the marketplace. So, that is again a small chunk, little larger in comparison to innovator, 5 to 6 times larger, may constitute up to 13% of the population. Then we are having the early majority, which constitute nearly 34% of the population, which goes with the opinion of innovators and the early adopters, and they purchase the product and feel good. Then we are having the late majority, again 34%, when you feel the pressure of peer that everyone is having and you are not using, then possibly you also want to join that particular group of individual who are using the product. So, you enter into that majority and you belong to that 34% of the category. So, just see the early mainstream or late mainstream, that constitute nearly the 60%, a major chunk of the market. Early adopter, that is what I mentioned, 13 to 14%. But even after this, 86% population adoption of the product, 14% people is still looking for whether to purchase, not to purchase. Those are called lagging adopters. It means they are not going to adopt those things until unless they are forced by the market forces or the peer or the friends, then only they will adopt the product. If I take my example, of my father, he was very reluctant to go for any kind of a smartphone. He was very happy with the landline connection, even not happy with the mobile. So, several times we faced the difficulty and we forced every one of us, my sister, myself, my wife, everyone forced him, let's have a phone, please have a phone, even a small phone, not a smartphone, so that we can trace your movement whenever you are going outside. As an old age person, we have lots of worries, so we can identify, we can trace you. So, after many years of perusal, many years of pushing, he adopted finally the mobile phone. So, that possibility also exists, and that possibility constitute nearly the 16% of the market. So, 84 to 86% we are having in terms of first 4 category, 14 to 16% possible. When everyone is forcing, then only they are going to adopt the product. Now, based on all these understanding in terms of the different factors influencing the consumer buying behavior, the different stages of buying process, knowing the adoption process by the consumer, the different types of consumer adopters, we can summarize very rightly here that buying behavior is a multidimensional concept. No one can negate this fact. Lots of factors are interacting with one another and accordingly giving possibility to buy the different services or goods. Similarly, all those factors are influencing, whether internally or externally, they are influencing our buying process. You just remember, even after deciding what to purchase, we decided this brand is going to be my final purchase. But before purchase, there may be certain factors which interact and accordingly may influence and make my final purchase decision may be changed, may be deferred or postponed. That's possible. B2C and B2B buying both are different drastically, and we have to understand the modern marketing trends which are shaping the buying behavior of individual. And as a marketer, if we want to become a professional marketer, we need to understand these changes. Then only it's possible to create a successful strategies of marketing. So as per the requirement, the session assignment and the further reading, I suggest you to go for a Google topic consumer insight report. You may find on the Google. And for a small assignment, just recall your last major purchase either by you individually or by your family. Just try to identify which stage of the buying process did you go through. If you are able to recall, just write it down. Whatever we discussed, the 4 buying process stages, just try to recall how you actually did. At that point of time, you may not realize the fact, but if you try to recall and trace it, you may realize you also moved from total set to awareness set to consideration set to choice set and then the final product choice. It's possible. Enjoy this with this assignment and enjoy the beauty of consumer buying. Thank you a lot. My next lecture will talk more in terms of understanding the consumer value, the satisfaction and the possibility of developing loyalty. So happy learning, keep developing. Thank you.